Today, I will be presenting my Accessibility Studies capstone project titled Making Life Accessible, a multi-year, universally designed transition curriculum for high school students with disabilities. My name is Laurel Weber. I am a high school teacher of special education. I am finishing up my master's degree in the Education Curriculum and Instruction Program. I am fighting to bridge the gaps in self-awareness, self-advocacy skills, and the workforce between people with and without disabilities by preparing students to take charge of their IEP. I was hired to teach at Ellensburg High School in the fall of 2020. In our program, we typically have between 20 to 25 students transitioning into adult life each year. Over time, I recognized a significant gap between the readiness of general education students who were graduating compared to the readiness of students who were graduating with an individualized education program in place. Students were the ones who felt it. Over the last 3 years, I have heard students say the following: I am never going to be good enough. I know what I want to be after high school, but I don't think it's possible. College isn't for people like me. And I can't talk to teachers. I get way too anxious. My colleagues and I were left asking ourselves, how do we bridge the gap? We knew we needed a new program addressing self-awareness and self-advocacy skills, so our students leaving the high school were aware of their strengths and needs and had the ability to advocate for themselves. I suggested looking at implementing student-led IEPs. The need for student-led IEP implementation is best seen through the statistic results of a 3-year study reported in 2004 by Martin, Marshall, and Sale. Their study found that special education teachers talked for 51% of the meeting. Family members spoke 15% of the meeting. General education teachers and administrators spoke 9% of the meeting. Support staff spoke for 6%, and the students only spoke for 3% of the meeting. When looking at our own practice, we determined our breakdown of participation would likely be in line with this study. No wonder our students did not know how to tackle the complexities of post-secondary life. In 2022, Bross and Craig provided additional insight to the power of student-led IEPs. They said, development of self-determination skills is one of the most important benefits of increasing student participation during IEP meetings. We settled on the idea of student-led IEP training, but were not successful in finding available curricula that met the constraints of our programming. Instead, I proposed this project. My proposal included 3 parts. First, the development of a 4-year curriculum using the Universal Design for Learning model. Next, develop 4 grade-specific UDL lessons to address self-awareness and self-advocacy skills each year with increased responsibilities to lead their IEP meetings. Third, I propose to include the training of other educators on how to effectively implement a universally designed lesson. Those who are unfamiliar with this model might wonder, why UDL? To answer this question, let's examine the 3 images shown. Notice how equality, equity, and accessibility are represented using a scenic viewpoint with 3 individuals. The chain link fence illustrating the idea of accessibility is the only one that allows all participants access to the view without additional supports. Similarly, a universally designed curriculum can provide the same level of accessibility. CAST defines UDL as a framework to improve and optimize teaching and learning for all people based on scientific insights into how humans learn. Using the UDL model, the curriculum will provide all students with an IEP an opportunity to participate in lessons in a way that meets their needs. The development of the 4-year curriculum using the UDL model will allow us to meet the goals we have for each of our students. Specifically, it will allow us to increase every student's level of self-awareness as they identify their individual strengths and needs. It will also allow students to learn how to advocate for their needs through increasing levels of participation in their IEP meetings. Finally, student voice will increase in their post-secondary transition plan through job shadows and assistance in filling out needed applications. The directional force for the curriculum comes from a student's transition plan in compliance with the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. The purpose of a student's transition plan is to facilitate the move from a student's K-12 education to their post-secondary pursuits. This plan must be in place before a student turns 16. It must also be individualized and designed to meet the student's post-secondary goals based on their strengths, needs, interests, and preferences. The transition plan is the guiding force behind our developing four-year program. For students to successfully meet their transition goals, they need to be self-aware and self-advocates. Let's look at how foundational self-awareness and self-advocacy skills are developed by examining the overview of the freshman lessons in their unit plan. The focus of this unit is to increase self-awareness and begin the development of self-advocacy skills. Each week's lesson is guided by a question and a learning target. First, students will learn what an IEP is, as many enter high school without this understanding. Second, students will identify their qualifying category and how their disability affects their learning. We will then review their legal rights as students with an IEP. Finally, students will learn how to advocate for their needs using their IEP at a glance, as well as make suggested changes to their accommodations. Now let's look at the first lesson plan in this unit, breaking it down by the 3 guidelines of UDL. First is engagement. Students are invited to engage with the lesson material by having early access to the learning materials. The question of the day is another type of engagement used at the start of this lesson to recruit student interest. Multiple means of representation are seen in the during the lesson row. In this portion of the lesson, students will be able to decide if they want to participate in a discussion, watch a video, or read material specifically designed to address the learning target. Finally, students can determine which method of physical action they prefer in demonstrating what they have learned. Choices include making flip video, completing a Quizlet question set, or filling in a graphic organizer. This lesson targets all 3 components of the universal model for learning and begins the development of their self-awareness and self-advocacy skills. As they continue through high school, the curriculum will move students through the various stages of the model with the goal of developing expert learners who are, in their own way, resourceful and knowledgeable, strategic, goal-directed, purposeful, and motivated. To implement my project at the start of the 2023-2024 school year, the next steps for my project include completing the remaining lesson plans, training my colleagues in the use of the UDL model, and creating the seminar groups and schedule. At the high school level, I will need to present the program to the Ellensburg School District Special Services Director, as well as the high school faculty. Finally, for similar research and future projects, I will continue to work in my professional learning communities, reviewing data to inform and guide the instruction of developing transition skills. As I conclude this presentation, I would like to remind you of the visual comparison between equality, equity, and accessibility. My project will help students exiting Ellensburg High School to access their life ambitions by removing self-awareness and self-advocacy barriers. I can truly think of no greater way to apply the principles of universal design. As an educator, I will continue fighting to bridge the gaps in self-awareness, self-advocacy skills, and the workforce between people with and without disabilities by preparing students to take charge of their lives. As I conclude, special thanks go to my family, whose constant encouragement and willingness to eat pancakes on the nights I cooked allowed me to reach this milestone in my education and career. Todd, Taryn, Shaden, and Brinley, you are the best of the best. Thank you for your time and attention.